Hi guys, welcome back. So I know it's kind of Halloween season here on YouTube. I notice a lot of Halloween tutorials going on at the moment, but I'm gonna skip right ahead to holiday, because why not? I was in Rite Aid the other day and I found a whole display of the Wet n Wild limited edition holiday stuff. So I picked up a bunch of it and I wanted to share it with you. So I'm usually not one for, starting to celebrate Christmas and all that stuff in October, November, when some people like to do that. But I did want to share this stuff with you just so you have a heads up of what you're getting into if you want to check out any of this limited edition stuff. So let's dive in, shall we? So just to let you know what I found when I went to Rite Aid, because I didn't buy all of it, or even all of the things that were available. There are 4 eyeshadow trios. I have all of those. There were also 4 liquid eyeliners, and they looked like there was a brown, a black, a purple, and a blue, and they looked like the idea was that they were kind of shiny and chromatic. I just didn't feel a great need to buy one. I didn't think I would use it. I have the liquid eyeliners that I like already, including the Wet n Wild waterproof. So I didn't grab any of those, but if you've tried them, leave in the comments what you thought. So this can maybe be a little bit more complete with your help. I also found a bunch of limited edition nail polishes. I made myself stop at one because I'm already overflowing with nail polish. And I wasn't sure how good they were going to be. So I made myself stop at one and I said, you can always go back, which I might do. So let me just start with that since I only have one. And this is in, this is in the shade Los Feliz Navidad. And I grabbed this one because it has this kind of duochrome thing going on, which I thought was kind of cool. There were 5 colors all together that I saw, and they were all this kind of shimmer with kind of bigger circular glitters in it. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but I will have linked a blog post with photographs of everything so you can see what it looks like on. So I thought I'd give you a heads up on this. This is actually nicer than I thought it was going to be. Because it almost looked like it was, colored shimmer in a very sheer or clear kind of binder, if you know what I mean. Like somebody dumped a bunch of glitter in clear nail polish. So I wasn't sure how opaque these were going to be. This one, anyway, is pretty opaque. You could wear this on its own. I thought maybe it would be the kind of thing you have to put over like a black nail polish to make it show up, but this you can wear on its own. The only kind of issue I noticed that you might have, for one thing, it dries down a little bit matte, so if you want it to really sparkle, you'll want to put a shiny top coat on it, and you can feel the glitter, you know what I mean? It's kind of textured. When you put a clear top coat over top, as you do, I didn't notice a problem, but just a heads up, you may want to have a top coat handy. All right, now moving into the palettes, and like I said, I will have photos in a blog post, which I'll link below, but I just wanted to walk you through, there are 4 palettes all having to do with wrapping, like wrapping paper. They're pretty cute. They say Stay Wild on the front. Each comes with 3 shadows, and they are all sparkly. Mostly like glitter chunky sparkly, and there are a couple more kind of shimmery metallic colors thrown in along the way. So I'll walk you through a little swatch of everything and what I think of them. And we'll start with this one here, and this is called Bohemian Rhapsody. This I have on my eyes at the moment. And again, I'll link below with pictures so you can see a little bit closer up. I'll swatch this out for you on my fingers first, so you can kind of get a sense. This is one of the better palettes, if I'm honest. I don't know if you can see, but they're very powdery. The eyeshadows in all of these feel very dry, which, you know, spoiler alert, I was a little disappointed by. So that's just, you know, that's swatched out on my hand. So very shiny. The pigmentation is not spectacular. It's not bad with these ones. I could work it on the eye pretty well. But I, you know, generally, and I'll go through each one individually, but as a whole, I was kind of disappointed with these palettes. I'm so used to Wet n Wild eyeshadows just being crazy amazing, and especially lately, they've been really creamy and pigmented, the mattes and the shimmers, and it's just lovely. And these ones all feel dry. Some of them are barely pigmented. And they just don't feel kind of up to par with Wet n Wild in general. Okay, so the next palette, and I'm not even gonna, you can see the package says Stay Wild. It's pretty cute. It's just gonna glare off the light though, so I'll just open this up. This is called Bust a Wrap. So you can see this is kind of a more blue toned, cool, cool palette. So again, I'll just kind of rub my finger in there. Show you swatches on my finger first. So you can see, hopefully, sorry. You can see that metallic shade is super powdery. And then when I swatch these out on the back of my hands, I'll rub them in a little bit. There they are. So, this one, again, it's not terrible. This metallic shade actually I think would be really pretty. I want to try and see if I can use it wet, because I think that could be a really nice kind of party lid color. That what looks like in a pan a dark sparkly blue ends up looking very kind of wishy-washy. The blue sort of shows up when you turn, when I turn my hand, I can kind of see a little bit of blue sparkles, but it doesn't really come off as a blue shadow. And then the black is, again, it's not, you know, the deepest, darkest black, but the sparkles in that, they're kind of white, silver sparkles. They do show up much better. I'm not sure if you can see. Again, I'll have photos in the blog. So this one, again, it's not the worst one, but it's close to it, I think, in terms of the shadows. I think if you were to use all three of these on your eye again, these two dark shades are going to look pretty much the same. And when I swatch it out, especially this metallic shade, because it's very chunky glitter, I can feel that as I, you know, put it on my hand. So that may or not be pleasant on the eyeballs. Well, the eyelids, definitely not pleasant on the eyeballs. And even if putting it on isn't that much of an issue, I'm wondering how that's going to be to remove. So this one, I don't know if I would recommend it unless you really are like, wow, that shade is awesome. And even though it's not the best of Wet n Wild's, I want it. I mean, these palettes are $2.99. So if you see a shade that you're like, you know what, that might be fun to play with, it's not the biggest waste, you know what I mean? But still, with how awesome Wet n Wild usually is, this palette is, to me, pretty disappointing. All right, so the next palette here is called Rapper's Delight, and that's with a W again. And this is another kind of blue, silver, cool palette. This one is actually probably, in my opinion, at least as far as the eyeshadows themselves go, the best of the bunch. You have this metallic, like ice blue, this kind of steel gray. But the disappointing thing in here is you have the exact same sparkly black as was in Buster Rap. So the pigmentation on these shadows are by far the best, I think, out of all of them. They also feel better. They're still pretty powdery, especially that that kind of steely silver color. The blue is actually the closest, that ice blue, that's the closest, I think, to a typical awesome Wet n Wild eyeshadow. I wish I didn't already have that color in another Wet n Wild palette, or I'd be a little bit more excited about it. But if I was to recommend any of these, this would be the one. If, of course, you like blue, shimmery shadows. Another thing to mention, this kind of dark silvery color, it has kind of golden shift to it. Some of the sparkles when you turn the hand, I don't know if that's picking up at all, but some of the sparkles are kind of golden. So that might be fun to play with. So that one is not a total bust. All right, this last palette, however, is, in my opinion, a total bust. So this last one is called Freestyle Rap. Now, I don't know if you can see that top shade. Do you see all the buildup around? That's just from dipping my brush in. So when I first swatched these out, I was actually shooting a kind of first impressions video. Then I ended up buying more all of the palettes, and anyway, that didn't work out. When I first swatched this, the swatch was so bad that I thought, well, this must be a glitter overlay, and you just kind of scrape down a little bit and you'll get this, because this shadow looks really pretty. It's this kind of peachy color with multicolored glitter in it, which to me is really pretty. But it never helped. So I'll swatch that out on my finger. It's so powdery, as you can see. You know, and I'm kind of pressing down here too, just to help it along a little bit. But I don't know if you can see this finger. It's just so chunky and powdery. Same with the middle finger, excuse me, which is kind of the same shadow but purple instead. And then this one isn't too bad, but it's still not great. So let me swatch these out on the back of my hand. So they're chunky, powdery. That first kind of peachy shade barely shows up as any color at all. It mostly just looks like glitter. So, you know, maybe it could work as a glitter top coat if you wanted, you know, some random splotches of glitter. The purple, you know, swatches out basically to nothing. It's very sheer. And then that other kind of silvery purple shade is better, but definitely not great. Let me actually see. It's a similar, oh, it's not really similar. It's much more purple than the bottom shade of that first palette, Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, you can see the difference. They're not really the same shade. I was kind of hoping, because it's a similar tone. It's more of a metallic rather than a glittery shade. But, I mean, come on. I mean, if you're familiar with Wet n Wild shadows, you know that these are really bad. You know, and one thought I had was maybe it's, oh, they're limited edition, so maybe they just don't want to put as much effort into, you know, shadows that are only going to be out for a little while. You know, the palettes, they're, you know, less than $1 per shadow, because I think they're technically $2.99, but whatever. But I have, you know, one of the summer limited edition trios. It is so buttery and smooth. They're a little bit powdery, but nothing like this. So this palette was a a gigantic disappointment, mostly because I'm so used to Wet n Wild being amazing, at least as far as eyeshadows go, and as far as a lot of their products go. They really knock it out of the park. And these, they just don't. Even the palettes that aren't too bad, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, you could work with, is it Rapper's Delight? Yeah, Rapper's Delight you could work with. This one is by far the best out of all of them, in my opinion. Rapper's Delight. So that's the kind of cool blue and silver one. Even if you buy one of the ones where the pigmentation's a little bit better, to really make a complete look, I think you will probably want to pull in other shadows. Something matte. These seem much more like, you know, this will be a nice lid shade and then you fade it out with something else, rather than using them all together. You could, I mean, I did today, but if, you know, if I wasn't just doing this for the sake of argument, I would definitely bring in other shadows and probably just focus on one of these shades. So those are my thoughts, feelings, sadness on the limited edition Wet n Wild Holiday Eyeshadow Trios / nail polish, which I actually really like and will probably be picking up more of them. I would really love to know what you think of these, if you find them and play with them, especially if you find that, wait a minute, what is she talking about? This shade is amazing. Because it's definitely possible. Maybe I just got dud palettes. I don't know. But I would be really curious to hear your experience with any of these palettes. And I hope you found that informative and helpful. And I hope you liked. So if you did, you can give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe below if you want. And I will have linked the blog post with all the pictures and everything. So you can check that out if you want as well. I hope you are having an awesome day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.